Hello everyone. Maria Trusat, the CEO of Fort May Medical Center. And I'm here with our show, we always every Monday, with Reflect and Reset with Gina and Maria. Unfortunately, Gina is not here today. She had some business to take care of, so I'm doing the show with our guest, and we have Kym Mc Nair.
There you go.
I got it from my sister's place. And as you know, first of all, I want to thank you for tuning in and for always supporting us. And actually, the support that we're getting it's overwhelming, and we really appreciate it. Our goal and our mission is to bring to our community information that people don't really understand that it exists, like organizations like My Sister's Place. Right. Which is an organization that is doing amazing work. And we're going to be talking about intimate partner violence. And I was looking at the statistics, and I was blown away what a major issue this is in our community. Nearly 1 to 4 adult women and approximately 1 in 7 men report experience severe physical violence from an intimate partner in their lifetime. 16% of women and 7 of men have experienced sexual violence from intimate partners. I mean, this is incredible. 10 of women and 2 of men having been stalked by an intimate partner. And the reason we decided to do this show is because I know it was in October, it was the awareness for domestic violence. Right. But like you said, and I liked how you said it, it's not just October. No. This is something that we need to continue to bring to the community, and for people out there to know that there's a place that exists that can help you. And that is the reason we invited Kimberly from My Sister's Place to talk about your place. What are you doing for the community that is suffering from such a terrible situation?
Well, first, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it. I am my official title is Coordinator for Community Education and Engagement. So this is part of what I do at My Sister's Place. A word about those stats. So those stats are based on people who have reported. Right. So now imagine the people who are still in those relationships who are afraid to report, who are trapped through various means in that relationship. So this gives you a better idea of how broad this issue really is. So let me tell you a little bit about My Sister's Place, who we are. My Sister's Place has been around for 40 years. 40 years, it's a little over 40 years. We started as the Yonkers Women's Task Force. A group of women were noticing the violence in the neighborhood, and they decided we have to do something about this issue. So we've gone from a drop-in center to women sleeping on someone's couch, women sleeping in a car to get away from the perpetrator, to a full-service agency. So we have 3 offices. We have an office actually right down the street on Barker. We have an office in Mount Vernon, and we have an office in Yonkers. And in those offices, we have counselors, advocates, paralegals, lawyers. We have a CPS collaboration. So when I say we're full service, we provide a wide range of services. We also have a shelter. Where the shelter is not something that we share. Right. Because these people who have reported and the people who are coming to us out of fear are going into shelter to get away, not for us to tell where they're going. But even in shelter, they have access to counseling and to our legal services. And we serve everybody. The name My Sister's Place is a name our founding mothers came up with when we were first coming together as an agency. But we have men who are clients, we have teenagers, we have the little ones, we have children's counseling. So we serve people across the board.
That is amazing work. And I was thinking of the impact that this situation actually has on the health of the individual and the families. Talk about that.
So it's interesting that you asked that question, because the majority of my trainings are with healthcare providers. Because we're an agency, we're a small agency. We only have, it varies between 70 and 80 employees. We cannot do all of this work by ourselves. So I go out and I talk to healthcare providers to let them know about chronic illnesses, to let them know to ask questions about people's safety, because that healthcare provider, and you all here at Form A, you may be the first person that someone speaks to. And so it's really important for healthcare providers to be aware of the issue. This issue, it impacts health, it impacts a person's ability to work, because oftentimes the perpetrator will sabotage a person's ability to work. And if they can't work, they don't have access to resources. And if they don't have access to resources, then their ability to move around independently is constrained.
Right.
So in terms of families, so a family for us could be a single mom, it could be a single person with no children, it could be a mom with multiple children, it could be a dad with children, because we know that even though the adults in this relationship are the ones experiencing the violence firsthand, the children are impacted as well.
The impact of these poor kids.
Right.
I can tell you that, I always mention I'm very big into Audible books, and I listen to a book, and right now I am listening to a book that's called Parenting from Inside Out by Daniel Siegel.
Okay.
And it basically concentrates on the impact that our parents have on our lives later on in life.
Right.
And my God, I mean, I could only imagine what these kids are suffering later on as they have been raised by an abused, relationship that their parents are having.
So one of the things that we know is that children are resilient. Children are amazing, and they have so much to teach us. So this is going to sound a little odd, but some of the best times that we have in the office are when the little ones are around, because they remind us why we do this work. And, I know people who do this work across the country who grew up in homes where they were witness to violence, and that's why they do this work. So the thing about children's resiliency is that we know that it takes the intervention of a counselor to remind them or to let them know that we see them, we honor them, we respect their personhood. And so the conversations that our children's counselors, and even Jackie, who is she provides childcare for when parents come in, those little conversations help lay the foundation, a different foundation than the one that's being laid by the violence they're experiencing. I mean, I feel like our children are going to show us a better way. Yeah.
Do you think that it's also possible that they take it the other way, where they become abusive themselves?
So I hesitate to draw a straight line from a child who experiences abuse to the adult who perpetrates violence, because I believe in the ability to make different choices.
Right.
When we talk about what this issue is, I start off by telling people this is a consistent and intentional way of being, an intentional pattern of behavior. That means the perpetrator is making choices. But we all stand at the crossroads, and we have the ability to make certain choices. Now, if a child has been influenced and cared for and surrounded by people who are helping show them how to make better and different choices, then yes, a child who experiences violence can go on to be, anything in the world. But we also know that children who experience violence, there is a possibility that they could become a perpetrator, but that's why our counseling services are so important.
That's why. So when do you realize, so if I'm, a mother out there that feels that, maybe it's just, this is the way it is, I know, unfortunately, in the Latino culture, I think this is a big issue in the Latino population. People drink, they are abusive,
Sure.
To their spouses. And so when do you know, is it just the machismo, or am I being abused?
Gosh, that's a good question, because so you mentioned
and
culture.
It's not just a Latino.
No, this is good. No, because you're right. And so when we talk about culture, when I teach about culture, when that comes up, I always teach people that this is the human culture. There is something across the board, whether you're black, you're brown, you're white, whether you're Asian, this is a human issue. How it manifests in particular communities may be a little different. So you mentioned machismo. This is interesting. One thing I've learned from my Latinx colleagues is that machismo was supposed to be a way for men to support and protect, and it's been flipped.
Yeah.
Right. So your question is, how does someone know?
Identify, like, how do you know, God, this is not the way that I should be treated, and now I'm at the border of,
Right.
you know, I'm being abused here.
So I hesitate to list like warning signs, because the woman who has 2 children is going to experience this differently than the woman who's single. Or the woman who's living in South Salem will experience this differently than the woman who's living in Mount Vernon, or the man in Mount Kisco. So because of our complicated and multi-layered lives, we're going to experience this differently. One thing I would say that is pretty common is a loss of a sense of control over one's own life. So when I start to feel like I can't connect with my friends anymore, I don't have connection to maybe my religious community anymore, the things that provided emotional support for me are being cut off. That might be a warning sign. My movement is restricted. My social network is shrinking. These are signs, because the perpetrator's goal is to isolate. And so if I start to feel like I'm losing friends, I'm not in touch with my mother or my sisters, that might be one sign.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's and it's not just physical abuse.
No.
To talk to us about, because there's different type of abuse, as I was reading before the show. So
we've been socialized through crime dramas, movies. We could talk all day about Lifetime. No offense to the Lifetime network. We could talk about What's Love Got to Do with It, Girl on a Train, like all of these movies, The Burning Bed. Some people may not recognize that one. So we've been socialized to look for physical violence. We've been socialized to look for physical contact when we talk about sexual violence. But the things that we do with our mouths, the things that we do with our eyes, the ways in which we exert the dominance of our own personal needs over another's needs. So even with physical violence, if you're a touchy person, I may withhold affection from you as a way to get power over you, because my withholding affection is depriving you of a need. I may sabotage your ability to work just by leaving the gas on E, and then you don't know it, and so then you have to stop at the gas station on the way to work, and that adds time to your work, and then you're always late for work, and then if you're always late, you're going to get reprimanded. I haven't laid a hand on you. But the sabotage, right? So there are so many ways that are very subtle, and because we're a service provider, we don't necessarily look for the criminal offenses in the same way that someone from White Plains Police Department would look at them. We're coming at it from a different perspective, and so some of the things are very subtle. Things that I say, things that I text, how I use social media. One of the ones that I always bring up is EasyPass. Everything, if you look at your EasyPass statement, every bridge and toll you go through is there, the day and the time. So if I open up an EasyPass account, and I'm opening up for you because I don't want you to have to worry about paying the toll or having money in the car, well then I can see everywhere you go. I'm not laying a hand on you. And the last one I want to mention, and this one is very troubling, is gaslighting. Gaslighting is the ways in which I can make you start to doubt your judgment. So you always put your keys on the table. One day your keys are gone, and I'm like, I don't know where your keys are. You keep track of them. You turn the house upside down looking for your keys. 5 hours later, the keys are right there on the table. And I'm like, yeah, they were there the whole time.
So you're creating doubt that that person is sort of unstable.
Right.
To be able to get control.
And if you're unstable, and I'm the stable one, who are you going to rely on? Right.
This is...
And these aren't things that you can always see. But you know something is up here, because I know I'm not crazy that the keys weren't there when I looked for them.
You know what's amazing though? I mean, I know couples that they're verbally abusive to each other
Mm-hmm.
by yelling and screaming and
Mm-hmm.
you're stupid and the disrespects that goes on and they're together forever. I mean, how do you do it?
How do
they do it?
how do they do it?
I'm blown away.
So I think underneath your question is like the why do they stay?
Why?
Okay.
Yes.
So first, that bickering and sniping, it could be conflict. And sometimes we conflate conflict with what domestic violence is. So I always talk about power and control. Power is, I have access to certain things, and I'm going to prevent you from having access, right? Even this right here, I'm just keeping you away, okay? Control is what power looks like in action. It is the irrational irritability. And I'm quoting Beth Ritchie, who wrote a book called Arrested Justice. It's about black women and the criminal justice system. And she talks about what control looks like in this relationship. It's the dominance of need. So it's all of these things. So in those relationships, so one, I'm wondering if it's conflict or if it's DV. So that's another question, which I can't answer because I don't know those couples. But that why question is really interesting. The why question actually puts the blame for what's happening at the feet of the survivor. Right. We don't often hold the perpetrator accountable for what they're doing. We don't often say to the perpetrator, why are you doing this? I thought you loved this person. Why? Right? We don't hold them accountable.
Right.
So one of the things that I teach is that
But you would say to the person that's being abused, why are you staying? Why?
Which is in a way saying, and I'm guilty of saying it. We're all guilty of saying it. So we'll accept that. But it's a way of saying, I thought you were smarter than that. Which is not helpful.
That is funny. I've never thought of that. But normally the knee-jerk reaction
You're absolutely right.
for us is to say, why are you staying?
You're absolutely
why
right.
Why are you doing that?
Right. So let me give you a question to ask. And it's really not to ask the person you're trying to help. It's more about how we ask ourselves how to deal with this issue. Domestic violence is a form of oppression. It fits right into the puzzle of systemic oppression and systemic racism. One of the things I want us always to ask is, what are the challenges preventing this person from leaving? And then we can start to think more broadly about how we can provide support for people who are in this relationship and are looking for a way out. We can, instead of asking them to walk out of the circle of fire, we can walk into that circle with them and show them the way out.
Wow. And the other thing that we were talking about, it's sort of like there is this stigma that maybe is the underserved community that
Right.
goes through this situation, but that is not the case for what you're telling
It
me.
is not the case. So Westchester County is very interesting. There are deep pockets of poverty and there are pockets of extreme wealth. I think Westchester is 500 square miles, and I drive all of those miles. On any given day, I can be in the Salems all the way down to Yonkers where I work. DV does not discriminate. Everybody is impacted. So it's not a black issue, it's not a brown issue, it's not a white issue, it's not a poor issue, it's a people issue. And we're all being impacted. And survivors look like me, they look like you, they look like you. This is a people issue. Now, how it manifests might be a little different, but it does not discriminate.
So you try to educate the providers and you go,
Sure.
Do you find that the medical practices are very open to you going and educating them, or do you find a challenge?
Oh, what a beautiful question. Because I'm always looking for an entry point. So I'm pretty much in all of the nursing schools in Westchester County. There are some hospitals I would love to be part of. So St. John's, I'm part of their orientation. So I go in and I talk to new hires. Montefiore, New Rochelle, I'm in their orientation. But I would love to like be in White Plains Hospital. I would love I know,
to be
in.
You know, some of the people that work there follow us. So
Northern Westchester, because I feel like the more we know, the better equipped we are to address this issue.
You know, it's interesting because I'm thinking, I know that you can, and you spoke with our providers,
Sure.
and I believe that it's so critical that we continue to educate the doctors
Sure.
in the medical community of places like your place,
Sure.
right? Because you are the expert. You have, your organization have become expert on domestic violence.
Sure.
So to learn from the expert, it's key.
And it's free.
And it's free.
All I need is like an hour of time, and I can come in, talk to people, share the resources, give them our hotline number, and then they can take it from there.
And I know it's hard, you know, because I can tell you that we actually, I think, had to reschedule a few times, and
Yeah.
it was a little bit difficult
Sure.
to get all the doctors
Right.
in the medical assistants, people that you need to talk to, available. But it's something that we have to take the time. These are the things that are valuable to our patients. And the doctors, you're teaching them to look for signs. And I can tell you that, you know, in our facility in the urgent care, last week I believe it was, you know, we come here and there was somebody that came in and,
Sure.
you know, we had to figure out how to deal with that patient because he was abused,
Sure.
you know, physically by her significant other. And it breaks my heart, you know, that people have to go through this, you
Right.
know, in a community, like you said, it doesn't matter where you come from.
Right.
We are all affected, and you think that, and this is just a perception, that the more educated you are, that the more you would know that that's unacceptable behavior, but that is not the case.
No, no, not at all. So and I'm so glad you said that, because I often run into people who think, well, and you know, this is a compilation of statements that I've heard from people. It's those people down county, right? Because they don't know any better. It's the people up county. This is, again, it's a people issue. And it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic level is, does not matter your level of education. It's always about power and control. And you can be dirt poor and still exert power and control over your partner. Across the board.
So in my sister's place, like you said, you are able to go there for legal advice. You can get psychiatry care, psychological care.
Our counselors are mental health workers.
Okay.
So we don't provide treatment programs, but we do provide counseling. Right.
And then as far as shelter is concerned, you're able to do that. And
so here's the thing about shelter, and this is the challenge of the work. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay,
I just want to be
no.
clear. So we have a small number of beds in shelter. So now, I already said that Westchester County is 500 square miles, and you've got stats that say 1 in 4 women, right? So when you do that math, you know, we are trying to figure out what's the best way that we can serve the population of survivors across the county. And so we do have shelter, and shelter is temporary emergency shelter, right? And we don't want people to think that they can go into shelter and be there for 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or a year. It's 90 days.
It's 90 days.
90 days.
But do you help them? Do you help them find a place to go after? Or?
So we are. It's interesting because all of the agencies, we're all connected in a way. And so for example, with the counseling services, if we have a client who has issues that are outside of the outside of the wheelhouse, that our counselors aren't equipped to handle, we'll refer out. So we do have resources, and honestly one of the biggest challenges, and not for survivors but across the board, is housing. Affordable housing in Westchester County is
That's the major issue. Yeah.
Right.
So expensive to live here.
And I'm born in Mount Kisco. Like, I'm born and raised in Westchester, and so I know what Westchester County is like. So we work with other agencies to find housing for folks as well. It's hard work, but it's worth it because we know that giving or helping a survivor find a place of their own could mean like a brand new start for them and their children or their family. So this is one area of the work that we're very diligent about.
And I like what you said, that a lot of people in your organization, they go into this work because they might themselves have had to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a way it creates a deeper connection, right? When you get people that you need to help. And
yes, I think one of the things people don't realize, because they don't know what they don't know, because if they don't see a bruise on someone's face or if they don't see physical evidence, they think that everyone is okay. And it's not to say, like, I don't want people to start, interrogating their friends about things, but I don't think people realize that we all know somebody right now, whether we're living with them, we're worshiping with them, we're working out with them, we all know someone who's experiencing intimate partner violence. And so maybe I have a coworker who experienced it firsthand. Maybe I have a coworker who grew up in a home, or maybe it was their cousin or their brother or somebody, but we all have seen it and witnessed something. And I think when you have a sense of empathy, you feel with people,
right.
And sometimes that feeling with people may lead you or may call you to do the work. A lot of my coworkers talk about how we didn't go to the work came to us and pulled us in, and we just kind of gave in and said, okay, let's do the work.
I have a friend that actually she was telling me how her passion is to help women that have been sexually abused. And ironically, she's like, she was sexually abused.
Okay.
And she went into that work to help because she knows the pain and she can relate to them and she's able to help them. And I was so touched when she shared that with me. And I was, this is people like the people at your sister's place are making a major impact. You make a major,
think so.
Absolutely. I always say, I love what I do here because I know when I go to the waiting room, I know, we're seeing so many patients, and I know I'm impacting those people's life. And it feels good to know that you're helping them.
Yes.
So
even as an educator, so I don't do direct client service work. I'm surrounded by coworkers who do. But on the days when I'm not out on the road, I'm in the office. Again, when the little ones are in the office, they bring so much joy to the space. But so last week we were giving away turkeys. Now, people think, oh, it's nice you gave someone a turkey. I don't think people understand that we were helping someone feed their family for Thanksgiving. And the holidays come and people who don't have feel the pressure of not having. And so if we can give someone a turkey and give their family a meal for a couple of days, right, that's making an impact.
Absolutely.
And and on occasion I have run into people who have been in my training spaces, and when they say to me, hey, I remember you, because you said that thing, and it could be a year ago, I'm like, okay, just one. I see hundreds of people every year, and I'm like, okay, one, that's fine.
That's it.
That works.
That's it.
Yeah.
So tell me, for the holidays, what do you do for this community?
So, it's very interesting because people, the myth is that the holidays create more violence. This is not true. The holidays provide a perfect storm. And if you think about it, aren't we all a little stressed around the holidays? Mm-hmm. We got to shop, we got to deal with crowds, dealing with the lines. So that stress is across the board. So for our clients, we do the turkeys for Thanksgiving. We have a Thanksgiving dinner with them in the shelter. The holidays are coming, and so we're always looking for donations and it's really for the kids. The
do
moms.
You take toys for the kids?
We do. We actually on our website.
We just found the organization that we're gonna do a toy.
Good.
What do you call it?
A toy drive.
Toy drive. So we're getting ready to.
That would be fantastic.
Yes.
We actually hold in our Yonkers and White Plains office a holiday boutique. And this is an opportunity for the adults to come in and shop for themselves or their little ones.
And do you take donations? Is it clothing and things like that, or
everything?
Everything.
It's everything.
And you take donations, used stuff and new stuff, or?
Well, so I want you to think about something. You're feeling with people. What would you want? If you walked into a holiday boutique, what would you want to see laid out for you?
I don't mind new stuff because I do rent the runway, so I'm always using. But I hear what you're saying.
I always I always like to buy new because I feel like
Yes.
I would want the same. You know what I mean?
So we are done.
Okay.
It's you said it. In 30 minutes, it's going to go so fast, and it did. But we also are going to ask you to write a blog for us so that we can continue sharing the information.
Yeah.
And I like you to if I want to donate to your organization, how do I do it?
You can go to our website.
Okay.
There's a link there for donations.
And the website is
My Sister's Place NY, mspny.org. mspny.org.
so the holidays are about giving. And we give to our families, and we're looking always for that present, and take a little bit of the money that you're going to spend in presents. Sometimes we don't even use the presents that they're giving to us, and give a little to My Sister's Place. Just a little. Thank you so much. Like us, and I hope you enjoyed the information we gave you and that it was valuable to you. Take care. Thank you, Kym, for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you.